attention all. Go to Artlist and
Welcome to Jesse Waters Prime Time tonight.
You probably hear the beautiful sound of construction to the back. You hear that sound? Oh, that's music to my ears. I love that sound. It reminds me of money.
Donald Trump jackhammering his way into history.
You don't own it. Take your behind to another town.
Y'all better stay the out of my way in these stores. I'm walking out with cards and I'm not paying for Trump, if you won't start looting, it's gonna happen. I'm gonna be stealing like it ain't no tomorrow.
The food stamp hostage crisis is making everyone crazy.
You know what happened? We're gonna do this.
Well, Gayle King has done it again, y'all. She's over here with them dude from the news station. I'm confused, Gayle.
Did I get Gayle King in trouble? Plus,
why don't you come on Jesse Waters Prime Time? Come on. Brilliant. You can bring your binder.
you hear that?
You probably hear the beautiful sound of construction to the back. You hear that sound? Oh, that's music to my ears. I love that sound. Other people don't like it. I love it, Josh. I think when I hear that sound, it reminds me of money.
If you live in D.C., get used to those sweet, sweet, soothing sounds of demolition. The president's building the biggest and most beautiful ballroom in the world, and it's free. Trump and donors put up the money. And even though she lives in New York, it keeps Mika up at night.
It is hard to watch that, and it's hard to believe that any president could destroy the White House. To take literally a wrecking ball to the White House, it's grotesque. It's just grotesque.
The ladies of The View tried drowning out the jackhammers with their pipes.
You don't own that building. That is the people's building. You don't own it. You don't own it. You cannot take it down. You don't own it. Take your behind to another town.
Hillary says it's not his house, it's your house, and he's destroying it. Hillary just called Trump a homewrecker. When her husband Bill was termed out, Hillary absconded with $30,000 of White House furniture. She even took the silverware. Nothing's more grotesque than what Bill Clinton did to that White House. And what's Trump destroying? Has Hillary not seen the new marble floors?
Did you notice the white marble floor that was put there? That was made out of Home Depot tiles, about 1 foot by 1 foot. They were all broken, about 30 years old. And I replaced it with book-matched marble, paid for by your friend, President Trump.
White House renovations aren't anything new. Presidents have been fixing up the White House for over 100 years. Teddy Roosevelt built the West Wing from scratch. FDR added an entire second floor and then put in an indoor swimming pool. The presidents that followed loved it. Kennedy liked a skinny dip.
That was the swimming pool where Jackie would say, I hear women inside. Are women inside? Quite a famous, I'm not saying anything, this was a part of a movie. And the Secret Service said, no ma'am, there's no women inside, ma'am. I'm sorry, ma'am, you're gonna have to move along. But I hear women inside. No ma'am, you'll have to move along, ma'am. So that was the famous swimming pool.
JFK left the pool so scandalized that Nixon filled it with concrete and turned it into the briefing room. Is that why they call it the press pool? We don't know. But Nixon left his mark. He put in a bowling alley in the basement. Truman gutted the whole White House, gutted it. And he slept across the street while they ripped the place up. Barry put a basketball court right on top of where Bush the elder played tennis. Michelle hated Barack playing ball.
I'm always like, be careful playing basketball. You shouldn't be playing now. You now have a real important job. And literally, he's coming in with a gauze thing on his lip. He needed like 30 something stitches. His lip was, I saw it. He had some major speech on Monday and I was like, this is what I'm saying. You're playing like you're 10 and now your lip is split.
Taxpayers paid for every stitch on Barry's lip. Some of Biden's people are really mad Trump's doing construction.
There's no greater metaphor right now than what's happening right now in this country than watching Donald Trump take a wrecking ball to the White House. Like, the powers that are in the DC are not standing up. They're acting as if they're powerless.
Biden painted a trans flag over the Truman balcony and had transgenders flashing their chesticles on the lawn. A nice classy ballroom will class the place up after what Biden and Hunter did to it. Biden brought construction guys to the White House to do the Situation Room and then blamed them for the cocaine. Trump's bringing in construction guys, he's haggling about the price and then hanging out with them after a hard day's work. The left's glum because Trump's so unconstrained. They can't control him. And his ambition, his vision, his confidence are a constant reminder of the Biden presidency's impotence. The left's struggling over the fact that Trump's a consequential president. So consequential that he's not only rewiring world trade, cutting historic peace deals, he's leaving a lasting physical legacy right on top of the White House that no one will ever be able to take away. In fact, future Democrat presidents, if there ever are any, will enjoy it. They've realized that Biden squandered his executive power, and now that Trump's flexing his, the last 4 years just seems like a waste of time. It's not just the White House. DC's looking so good, Trump's taking out the beast for some sightseeing.
I hop in the beast and I tell the Secret Service, let's drive around town. The place is looking the grass is good, the fences are down, there's no tents, there's no anything. This place is looking really good.
Everybody needs to calm down about the big, beautiful ballroom. It'll be tasteful. It's not going to look fugly like Obama's presidential library.
You're building your ballroom right now. They're also building the Obama Presidential Library. I'm wondering if you've seen. Have you seen pictures of the architecture? And
yeah, I did. It's not too pretty. No, but it's closed. It's stopped. They ran out of money. They're stuck. And he wanted only women and DEI to build it. Well, that's what they got.
Thank God Barry only put in a basketball court. Can you imagine what kind of ghastly monstrosity he would have undertaken? Democrats can't even get their own house in order. They shouldn't be pointing fingers at 47. If anything's being demolished, it's the Democrat Party. Look what happened to James Carville.
I know that you're so appalled by this, but I got to tell you, they're in Louisiana. I ride in the Mardi Gras parade, Carnival, beats, Soapy. You know what happens? Women do this. You know what I do? I throw them beats.
Do you want to be in a house with Carville or Stephen Miller? Carville, the not so crazy uncle, still can't believe Democrats want boys changing in girls' locker rooms.
What bull? I have a lot of friends that have daughters that play soccer, play volleyball, run track, play softball. You know what their parents don't want them doing for good reason? Is competing with males. You understand what you're doing to try to some kind of cheap political point with a bunch of left-wing zombies is you're ruining the women that work their asses off.
Trump's big, beautiful ballroom will have a men's room and a ladies' room. If Gavin's the next president, he can have a trans bathroom. It's the chief executive's prerogative. Democrats are more focused on trans than on biology and beauty. Even CBS thinks they've lost it.
2 out of 3 Americans have an unfavorable view of the party that you caucus with.
Yes.
How did that happen?
Okay, I'll tell you.
Why do they not like you and trust you right now?
This country faces many crises. And I think a lot of working class people said, look, Trump is crazy. He lies all the time, but at least he's going to do something. Where are the Democrats?
Bernie's asking the right questions. Where are the Democrats? Barack's henpecked in Hawaii and only comes out to stab Joe in the back. And if Hunter ever sees the cross-legged Messiah, his lip's going to have another stitch. After Obama walked Joe off that stage during the Hollywood fundraiser, Hunter told Jonathan Karl, quote, "I almost jumped up on the stage and said, don't ever effing do that to the President of the United States again. That really, really, really bleeped me off." The party may have turned on Joe Biden, but there are a lot of Hunter Biden Democrats ready for war. the young bare-knuckle brawlers, the kind of people who years ago would have challenged you to a duel. A Democrat in Texas saying this: if they go low, I'm going to the gutter. My brother was murdered. My aunt was murdered. My cousin was murdered. My dad blew his brains out. Sometimes ish is ugly, and you got to be able to fight ugly. Binder's still riding with Biden. She's what you call a Hunter Biden Democrat, and she's ready to light it up.
In this moment, there's an existential threat. Our democracy is hanging by a thread. Some people would say we're already an authoritarian regime. And I need to see teeth. I need to see fire.
The DEI revenge tour's on. She's throwing the whole party under the electric school bus. And she's blaming, you guessed it, the whites.
For me, as a Black woman, as a person who's also LGBTQ, I feel as if those communities that I am part of largely get taken for granted. It is not the big tent party that I loved and enjoyed and was part of and fought for.
Binder, who never misses an opportunity to remind you she's Black and LGBTQ or STUV, says whites still can't see race.
The leadership Democratic Party side of things, they're actually throwing people under the bus who are vulnerable and need protection. As a Black woman who has walked through the walls of the White House and been part of this party for a very long time, we get forgotten, and that by large part the Democratic Party does not see us.
Binder's mad at Nancy and Chuck for cooing Biden because she was collateral damage. And now that Trump's outlawed DEI, Binder's been hung out to dry. She can't get a job. Democrat donors won't hire her because she's the face of the cover-up, and corporate America won't pay her because she's not that smart. The only way her bread gets buttered is by the Bidens. That's why she still sounds like Biden's press secretary.
I saw a guy who I had not seen backstage at the benefit that I did. It seemed like a dramatically different person.
No one is saying that he didn't age. I'm talking about, did he have the questions that I was getting, the mental acuity? Was he able to govern? And the man that I saw nearly every day was someone who was engaging.
We tried asking Binder, are you sure? But she wouldn't talk to us.
Hey, Kareem. Johnny from Fox, how are you? Why don't you come on Jeff and Water Crime Test? Kareem, you can bring your binder.
We can't blame her for not wanting to talk to Johnny. You know who will talk to us? White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt. All right, Caroline. Are the Democrats jealous that Trump's building this big, beautiful ballroom?
It certainly appears that way, Jesse, and I believe there's a lot of fake outrage right now because nearly every single president who has lived in this beautiful White House behind me has made modernizations and renovations of their own. And in fact, presidents for decades in the modern time have quipped about how they wish they had a larger event space here at the White House that can hold hundreds more people than the current East Room and State Dining Rooms can. In fact, President Obama notably complained that during his tenure, he had to hold a state visit on the South Lawn and get a very expensive tent. If you talk to journalists who have covered the White House for decades, as I do here every single day, they will also tell you that administration after administration have publicly and privately spoken about the need for a larger event space. So while many presidents have privately dreamt about this, it's President Trump who is actually doing something about it. And he is the builder in chief. In large part, he was reelected back to this people's house because he's good at building things. He has done it his entire life, his entire career. And construction is a process at the end. The East Wing, which is an entirely separate structure from the executive mansion you see behind me, will be more modern and beautiful than ever. And then on top of that, the White House is going to have a big, beautiful ballroom for generations of Americans to come. And the best part of it all, it's not a dime of the taxpayers' money. The president has worked hard to privately fund this entire project from start to finish.
Yeah, they'd be mad if it's donors. They'd be mad if it was taxpayer funded.
That's right.
They're always mad. One of the reasons, Caroline, they're mad is because he's doing this during a government shutdown. How's the whole shutdown thing going?
Well, we're continuing to work very hard to try to reopen the government, Jesse, and we are now on day 21 of the government shutdown. Democrats have voted 11 straight times against the Republican-led clean continuing resolution to keep the government open. And it's quite peculiar because they voted for 13 times in the past for this exact same type of funding bill. As the president very clearly stated in the Oval Office today, he will gladly meet with Democrats to talk about health care or whatever other issue that they want to talk about. And by the way, it's the Democrats who created the broken healthcare system in this country through Obamacare that has led to rising premium and costs. It's this president, President Trump, who is taking on big pharma, who is cutting deals with them, who is working with insurance companies across the board to bring down the cost of healthcare in this country. But he's not going to have those conversations until Democrats simply vote to reopen the government. There are damning consequences every single day. Nearly 500,000 Americans are going without their paychecks right now. President wants to put people back to work, and he's calling on Senate Democrats to do the right thing, have a little bit of courage to stand up to their far left radical base and vote to reopen the government.
Well, someone who can't find work is the same person who had your job about a year ago. We call her Binder, KJP, Corinne Jean-Pierre. You, I guess, had made a joke about, it was like your mama joke, and she didn't like that. This is what she said. Roll it.
It's deplorable. And I'm using that word on purpose.
Yeah.
Because they don't seem to understand, this is the Trump White House, that they don't work for just one man.
Yeah.
They work for the American people. The White House press secretary is not about doing online trolling.
Right.
It is not. It is an honor and a privilege to have that job.
She called you deplorable, and you say?
Well, with all due respect to my predecessor, she is one of the main culprits of the greatest cover-up and scandal in American history. She took the podium every day and lied to the press about the incompetence of her boss. And on this book tour, she continues to lie. She said this past week that Joe Biden would still be up for the job if he had, God forbid, been reelected in November. She actually said this week as well on a podcast that Joe Biden did more press engagements than President Trump currently does now. Any person across the aisle can tell you that is a bald-faced lie. And I will just add, when you talk to the real journalists, not the ones who are actually activists that pose as journalists, but the people who actually care about truth, and there are some of those left in the White House press corps. I work with them every day. They will tell you the Trump White House is the most accessible and transparent White House ever. Not only does the president take questions from the press on a near daily basis, multiple times per day, as he did today, but we also provide truthful and accurate information about what this administration is doing and accomplishing. And it's a stark contrast to what they had over the past 4 years, where they were gaslit, where they were told Joe Biden was mentally stable and up for the job. That was a lie. Where they were told the administration was doing everything it could to secure the border. Also a lie. I'm very proud to work for the greatest president in history. I know Corinne unfortunately worked for the most incompetent president in history, so I guess she has a reason to be bitter, but being bitter will not sell you books, Jesse.
Is Peter Doocy one of those good reporters? Are you sure?
Look, Peter's a good guy. We have our tussles with Peter too. No mistakes there.
All right. Thank you so much, Caroline. Good luck
Thanks,
with the big,
Jesse.
beautiful ballroom. Portland is now helping Antifa attack ICE. Portland went loco again. It looked like Gaza before the peace deal. Antifa's made the city their personal playground. One Antifa foot soldier got caught sucking on his binky.
You're just yelling at people, threatening them.
Benjamin Button with the binky, though. Benjamin Button with the binky, though.
The man-childs are fighting ICE one passy at a time. So where are the revolutionaries training for battle of the binky? An abandoned elementary school.
It used to be an elementary school. They had to close down and move, though, because of all the chemical munitions.
The school shut down because of the tear gas?
Yeah.
Well, hold on, you guys.
would they be deploying that tear gas if the demonstrations weren't happening?
I see what you're trying to do with that, man. Like I said, unfortunately, we have to fight the good fight because people are being kidnapped, and people don't deserve to just be picked up and taken.
So the school was a casualty in all this, basically.
Yeah.
Kids can't learn how to read because these mostly peaceful protesters shut down their school. Portland does not have this under control. At least Antifa can host Molotov Cocktail Hour. Across the street from ICE headquarters, an anti-ICE nonprofit just moved in. And guess who helped them get the lease? Portland. The city's affordable housing czar has arranged for bad hombres to set up a fortress next to ICE. It goes deeper. Portland police, they've become Antifa bouncers, shielding they-thems from the feds.
And they're running for cover behind Portland police. Oh my God. You've got to be kidding me. Oh my God. She's like, she's literally running behind you guys. We don't know why she's running. So.
The anarchists suddenly love law enforcement as long as they can use them as human shields. And to the cops' credit, they are cracking down against bad parallel parking.
This is a traffic violation. This is a traffic violation. Get it out of here.
All right, Portland PD shutting this down. This is a traffic violation.
Besides you guys just standing here. I'm just asking you a question. I live here. What are you guys doing?
Do not interrupt me in a traffic stop. Get over there now.
The National Guard, still banned. Trump won the case yesterday, but we're still waiting on one other order. Democrats are demanding troops disobey orders, or else.
The oath of service says that you are obligated to follow the Constitution. There may be times when you face an order from your chain of command that is illegal. And whether or not you follow that order in the moment is going to be a decision that any given soldier or airman or Marine is going to have to make based upon their moral compass.
As long as we're disobeying orders from the federal government, do I still have to pay my taxes? Even though dead bodies are rotting on the street, even though schools have closed down from tear gas, and there's fires every night, Portland's just a walk in the park. It's just a bunch of Teletubbies in the trenches.
Let's just be clear. Portland is not lawless. We have been extraordinary in our resistance to Donald Trump's fairy tale about our city. We must remain steadfast in our peaceful resistance to Donald Trump.
Oregon's governor even coined a new term. It's no longer mostly peaceful, it's playfully protesting.
The use of the crowd control techniques from federal agents was over the top and also would be instigating conflict with the folks who are lawfully protesting. And remember, we have a lot of individuals who are there playfully saying, we don't agree with the federal government, and yet ICE agents are taking one step further and going out and shooting off tear gas and other things.
Yeah, when Antifa throws rocks and blockades agents from leaving, ICE should just squirt them with water guns. And up north, Seattle says, bring it on.
Common sense would dictate that Trump is overreaching. So we will fight this tyrannical approach, this federal overreach. We are prepared and we are vocal in our stance on protecting the values here in Seattle against Trump.
Aye, aye, aye. Let's bring in Congresswoman Anna Paulina Luna. Congresswoman, are you getting the sense that Portland police is protecting Antifa instead of ICE?
Oh, most certainly. In fact, if you really want to talk about the whole crux of this issue, Jesse, these Democrat mayors, these elected officials in Oregon and in Washington state are simply just shilling for their left-wing billionaire buddies. They're total frauds. A lot of these networks, to include Antifa, are getting money from the Arabella Foundation, from the Open Societies Foundation, from the George Soros networks, and they're simply saying that, you know, right now they hate the feds, they hate what Trump is doing, when in actuality they're just pushing their left-wing ideology. They don't actually care about illegal immigrants. This is all just a game to them.
So they're enjoying the tear gas. They like that elementary schools are being moved to other locations because the kids are crying from the tear gas.
I mean, these people really are morally bankrupt. You know, they're saying that they care about the kids. Meanwhile, what happened to the kids that were trafficked at the U.S.-Mexico border? There's no commentary there. They say they care about law enforcement, right? Or, that they wanted now all of a sudden support law enforcement when several years ago, Jesse, when I was stationed out there, actually, I went in there and I saw these very same protesters getting in the face of law enforcement, telling them that they were directly responsible for George Floyd's murder. So these people, again, it's about what's convenient for them for the propaganda soundbite at the time. The fact is that under this administration, we're now safe. But in places like Oregon and places like Seattle, Washington, they're literally embracing lawlessness while turning away law enforcement.
So do you think the Democrats have not learned their lesson? The defund the police thing was a catastrophe. I mean, they lost so much credibility. We lost lives because of that. They had to defund and then they had to refund. And by then it was too late. Everyone retired and the cities were overtaken. It seems like that was just a couple of years ago.
You know, they haven't learned from their own lessons here. What I will tell you, Jesse, and I don't say this, to just bring it up, but I am a Mexican American here. And the fact is that the Democrats are really trying to pivot instead of the defund law enforcement to defund ICE because they're simply trying to win the midterms. And they know that that's going to come with getting the Mexican American vote, which is why they're hyper focusing on specifically Mexican Americans. I think it's gross. Unfortunately, I hear them talk on the House floor and this is their strategy.
Wow. I guess that's a calculated strategy, because to me it just seems like they love fighting in the streets, but maybe they've put more thought into it than I realized. Congresswoman, great to see you as always. Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a food stamp hostage crisis.
Trump, if you won't start looting, it's gonna happen.
The guy who just stepped foot into the White House makes Putin look like a cupcake.
We have Darth Vader. You know Darth Vader, right? Darth Vader is a man who, I think he's sitting right. Is that Darth? Stand up, please, Darth Vader. Stand up. Does everybody know? They call him Darth Vader. I call him a fine man. But he's cutting Democrat priorities, and they're never going to get him back.
Vader's taking a lightsaber to fat while Democrats keep the government closed. Fetterman says it feels like a different movie.
It's Groundhog Day, and I'm just saying, and it's not entertaining. That's a great movie, but this is
Why won't Democrats just turn off the movie? They're holding everyone hostage.
A Democrat senator was speaking anonymously and admitted, quote, "People are going to get hammered." Another insider said in that same story, quote, "We would have enough votes to reopen the government if people were not terrified of getting the guillotine."
Radicals are having their way with Schumer, and there's nothing he can do about it.
I think he's mentally gone. He's been beat up by young, radical lunatics. And I think Chuck Schumer he's gonzo.
But it's not just the commie wing of the Democrats that they have to appease. Big insurance wants a payout.
What Democrats find themselves in a place is we've shut down the government to protect subsidies for an insurance marketplace that funnels $800 billion a year into the pockets of all these insurance companies.
That's what this shutdown's all about. Democrats want to give your money to donors and illegals, while the poorest of the poor Americans get scrooged. 42 million people could lose their food stamps if Schumer doesn't open up by Halloween. Schumer and Hips are still getting a paycheck, but poor families can't eat, and they're getting hangry.
Y'all better stay out of my way in these stores. I'm walking out with cards and I'm not paying for Trump, if you won't start looting, it's gonna happen. Before my kids go broke as like Jock, I'm gonna be stealing like it ain't no tomorrow.
Go ahead and start stealing from like grocery stores. Walmart already has enough money.
Since they want to take food stamps away, I'm going to Walmart. I'm going to rack up any damn Walmart, throw the right in the basket. I'm coming right about the move, get the out of my way. I'm not paying for a damn thing.
It's a hanger strike, and they're warning workers, don't get in our way.
And a PSA to them retail workers during this hard time of what is going on in the world. I really don't advise y'all to try to chase after anybody that's trying to collect them some food for their family as they're walking out that door with that cart, because you might around and don't make it home.
And lock your doors. They're not just going for the grocery aisle.
Let me not get my food stamps. I'm going back to stealing. I don't care. If you leave your car unlocked in the middle of the night, lock it. Because if I don't get no food stamps, believe me and mine's gonna eat regardless.
Ken Timms, a Fox News contributor. I don't think it's right if Schumer and Hips and all these politicians, they get their paychecks, but they're going to cut food stamps for poor people.
Yeah, I think that of all the things the government could be spending money on, I think that this would be one of the more important ones. I think it's a tough look to say otherwise, right?
Yeah, and they're going to get really angry and really hungry, and some of these grocery stores might not look the same.
Is that really going to happen?
I don't know. That's what they're saying. I believe them.
There's a few TikToks that say that. I don't know. I don't think there's going to be a massive looting of the grocery stores. I really don't.
When you get hungry,
yes.
Do you get angry?
Of course. It happened to me today. Listen what happened to me today. My husband and I went on a walk, okay? Yeah. And we were going to go get a bagel. And you know what? Then he tricks me. He says, we got to go to the bank first. So I'm good. I'm good the whole time at the bank. I behave myself. And then we have the dog. So I have to go into the bagel store to get the bagels. I wait in line only to find out I was waiting in the wrong line. I was waiting in the wrong line. It was not the line to order. So I walked out. And I said, that's it. I'm not eating at all. But they had a little temper tantrum. But then I did. Then I did eat.
You should have just stolen the bagels.
Yeah, I wouldn't do that.
Okay. But you weren't hungry enough. But some people get really hungry.
Yeah. No,
You're starving right now.
I'm a little hungry because you asked me to do this show at the last minute, and I decided to be a team player.
You need a snack.
Here I am, starving.
You can't just eat pistachios.
I had 2 bags.
Those are good ones, too. You don't even have to crack it open.
Yeah.
Just get them straight in the pouch. All right, listen, we can solve this. They reopen the government, they pay the military, they give the food stamps away, and everybody isn't so hangry. We can all get along.
I really do think that of the things that need to be funded, it's definitely people who are struggling. I get upset about taxes, but it's mostly because I don't.
The celebrity class continue to make ass clowns of themselves. It really is an epidemic, and Martin Sheen seems extra keen to elevate himself to the top of the pile with this asinine contribution.
So the big guy in the White House, if he would take some personal advice, you've got to realize, sir, that you are the biggest nothing in the world. And sir, you stop there. You stop listening to all these people around you, these sycophants.
Sycophant, Martin? You mean like this loopy lady beside you, MSNBC anchor Nicole Wallace, be clowning herself, laughing along to your sad little attack? You know, it's clear listening to this rant from Martin Sheen that he should never, ever speak in public without the aid of scriptwriters. He was quite erudite when he was playing the US president in the West Wing, but left to his own devices and meager brain power, he comes out with this.
Who are encouraging you to be your non-human self. Get in touch with that humanity. Stop fussing with your hair. And don't worry about your tie. And stand up straight and speak clearly, not from your throat. Speak from your heart. And start being human. That's what you were made for, not golf. So there you are, Mr. President. With all due respect, sir.
Listen to Nicole Wallace cackle like some deranged witch there. So Trump is not human and he should stop playing golf. Profound words there from Martin Sheen. No wonder the MSNBC anchor was beside herself with excitement. I mean, imagine how fringe-dwelling left you have become when TDS sufferer Charlemagne is calling you out.
I'll never forget when MSNBC did that to me. MSNBC said I was repeating MAGA messaging. I was like, damn, that means that y'all really are not paying attention to y'all constituents.
Now to another once great of Hollywood who has shown himself to be a seriously unwell individual in need of some professional help. Here is Robert De Niro losing the plot again and calling a proud Jewish man a Nazi, among other things.
He will not. We see it all the time. He will not want to leave. He set it up with his. I guess he's the Goebbels of the cabinet. Stephen Miller. He's a Nazi. Yes, he is, and he's Jewish, and he should be ashamed of himself.
The The only one who should be ashamed of himself is you, Robert De Niro, but you are so utterly broken and bitter and so full of hate and bile that you've lost sight of just how deranged you have become. It really is rather sad. Talking about sad, let's check in with actress and alleged comedian Margaret Cho, who had this to say about best-selling author J.K. Rowling.
Shut up, J.K. Rowling. Shut up. You're a joke. That's why your name is J.K., because you are a joke. Your anti-trans rhetoric makes me sick. You are despicable. I hope that when you face menopause, you have to take a lot of gender-affirming care, as I do. And when you're taking these hormones, they make your pubes grow out so thick and hard, it's like steel wool.
Gosh, where does one start there? I think you should keep details of your private issues to yourself, Margaret. Don't think that is a widespread problem. And J.K. Rowling is 60 years old. She probably has already gone through menopause. And good of you to mention menopause. You know who doesn't go through that? Men pretending to be women, because they're still men. Now, just when you think the leftist mainstream media cannot sink any lower, along comes MSNBC. Listen to this vile woman claim that J.D. Vance doesn't really love or protect his own family, his own wife and children.
He is married to a woman of Indian descent.
Yes.
He has mixed race children.
Yes.
So to all of the MAGA voters out there, if this man will not defend his wife and will not defend his kids, do you think he gives a crap about you or anything to do with you?
That was the contemptible Jennifer Welch on the lunatic asylum masquerading as a news network, MSNBC. And Welch, what an awful name that is. Well, she had more to say about race. Listen to this diatribe.
I'm a white woman that has lived in a red state my entire life. And I can tell you, when I'm around white people, they test the racist water. They test it on people like you all the time. And they'll try to say off-color things. I put my hand up. It absolutely happens. And you're fortunate that maybe you haven't experienced it.
And it's time for a CNN trigger warning, because they again had some sobering news for their permanently outraged audience. The Schumer shutdown is not hurting Donald Trump. Take it away, Harry.
In 2018/2019, Donald Trump's net approval rating was already falling. The shutdown was eating into his popular support. It was down 3 points already at this particular point and would fall considerably more. It was very much on the decline. You come over to this side of the screen, this shutdown hasn't eaten into Donald Trump's support at all. His net approval rating is actually up a point in terms of his popular support. So the bottom line is this: the first shutdown during Trump's first term, 2018-2019, was hurting Donald Trump. This one is not hurting him at all.
No, the shutdown is not hurting the president in the polls, and that's because most people don't blame him for the shutdown, despite the best efforts of the media.
Blame Trump for the shutdown a great deal. In 2018/2019, 61%, more than 3 in 5 Americans, blame Trump a great deal for that particular shutdown. You come over to this side of the screen, look at this. It's a different world. It's a different world. 48% of Americans blame Trump a great deal for this particular shutdown. So it's more than 3 in 5 back in 2018/2019. It's less than half, a drop of 13 points. Again, it's no real wonder that Donald Trump at this point, looking at the shutdown, says, you know what, it's not actually harming me politically, in large part because he's getting less of the blame.
Let's bring in political advisor and commentator CJ Pearson. CJ, the shutdown in term 2 is being seen differently by voters, but then again, so much of this second term is dramatically different to what we saw in term 1.
You know, you're exactly right. And the American people are seeing through the BS the Democrats are spewing. They know that Chuck Schumer and his colleagues own this shutdown. They know that the reason that our military service members are not getting paid is because of Chuck Schumer and the Democrat Party being held hostage by the progressive left wing. President Trump has done everything he can do to reopen this government. There have been vote after vote in the United States Senate to reopen this government, to fully fund its programs, to fully fund the men and women who work in our federal government, many of them public servants, and the Democrats have stood in the way of that. So no, the American people are smarter than the Democrats believe them to be, and they know that this is a Democrat shutdown, and President Trump has nothing to do with it.
Now, on Monday, I played footage of this hideous woman mocking Charlie Kirk's murder. This happened at a No Kings protest. Just a vile, vile piece of work. And sadly, CJ, she is a teacher. Those early reports were accurate. That thing is teaching young children. That's Lucy Martinez, teacher at Nathan Hale Elementary School. CJ, elementary school. You know, and the sad thing is, and Jesse Kelly's talked about this, as soon as I saw that footage, I thought, I bet you that's a teacher. And it's sad that I think that, but it's just happened too many times. Whenever I see footage like this of someone behaving in some reprehensible manner, you think, is it a public servant or a teacher? Too often, it's precisely that.
You're right. It's disgusting and vile and a truly alarming pattern. Like, these are the people that are, leading the future generation of leaders here in America. And imagine if this is what she's able to do in public. Imagine what she's doing in the privacy of a classroom. It's truly, truly alarming. And I hope that the school district takes immediate action to terminate her employment. And that's not cancel culture. That's called consequence culture. And free speech is free in America, but you are not free from the consequences of those actions. And that, is just beyond the pale. It's unbelievable to see. But I think that this entire episode following the death of Charlie Kirk has exposed a very, very real problem that we've already talked about a lot, actually, in higher education, but now we see clear-eyed and we can no longer ignore. There is a deep, deep sickness in higher education in this country, but also too in the teaching colleges, in the teacher schools that are actually, giving these teachers their educations. And so I'm not surprised. I am disgusted, but surprised? Not at all.
And what did you make of the No Kings protest across the country? Huge numbers took part. Do you think they have any impact in convincing undecided voters or independent voters, or is it the rusted on Democrats, TDS sufferers who have taken to the streets again?
Rita, I'm old enough to remember when, those on the left would accuse me of being a member of the party of old white guys. But it seems as if there must be some role reversal here these days, because all I saw at these protests were elderly white people who were probably out in the streets living out their hippie days just a few decades ago. And so it seems to be the case that a lot of young people are starting to see through the BS of the left. They're coming over to our side. A lot of black people are, obviously seeing through the BS of the left. They're coming to our side. And this is the best they have. A lot of delusional people who are just shouting at the sky and are saying, get off my lawn. But no one's actually paying them any mind, because you want to know the deal here. And it's actually really interesting to me. If you can protest and engage in a No Kings rally, you don't have a king. It is not rocket science. Try doing that in North Korea. Try doing it in Cuba and see what happens. These people are so delusional, and they need to be medicated. They need to be medicated. I hate giving Big Pharma money, but these people need to be medicated.
I think we need to make asylums great again. Reopen the asylums. In fact, reopen all of them. Now, this week, our Prime Minister, Anthony Albanese, finally got a face-to-face meeting with the President, and that meant Americans were treated to members of the Australian media. Here are a couple of examples.
Where do you come from? I'm from Australia.
Who are you with?
The Sydney Morning Herald.
Nasty guy. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I was just trying to ask a question.
And here is the second example. This cringeworthy question had social media ablaze.
You have within your power the most powerful man on earth. Why don't you just enable Ukraine to finish this war tomorrow?
Well, if you knew anything about what you were talking about, you'd be able. You do. I don't think you do, really. I don't think you do, because it's a little more complicated than that. But it sounds easy. We're in the process of trying to make a deal. If we make a deal, that's great. If we don't make a deal, it'll be a lot of people are going to be paying a big price.
Oh dear, such a rude, embarrassingly ignorant question, if you didn't call it that. CJ, what did you make of it?
Well, the first thing I made of it is that we needed you in that press conference, actually, to ask some real questions that people actually give a damn about. And maybe you could teach your colleagues a little, thing or two about foreign policy. President Trump has an incredible record to stand on when it comes to leadership on the world stage. Look at just what happened just a few weeks ago as it relates to Palestine and Israel conflict. This is a man who has made himself the president of peace and will continue to pursue that all across the world. Vladimir Putin respects him, and if he doesn't respect him, he certainly fears him. And Zelensky knows that at the end of the day, that President Trump is who he actually needs to deal with, and I think that he is working hard to stay in the president's good graces. He even showed up to the White House in a suit this past week, and I think that's an indication that he realizes just how important his relationship with President Trump is going to be. And so, the media can do what they do and commentate and, do whatever they will, but President Trump will continue to lead from the front, not from the back. This is no longer the Biden White House. This is the Trump White House. This is the deal maker. This is a peace seeker, and that's exactly what we will get.
Now, we had this memorable moment when Sky News' Andrew Cornell made the president aware of some of Kevin Rudd's comments about him over the years.
Even things the ambassador said about you in the past, the Australian ambassador?
I don't know anything about him. I mean, if he said bad, then maybe he'll like to apologize. I really don't know. Did an ambassador say something bad about me? Don't tell me that. Where is he? Is he still working for you?
Yeah.
You said bad?
Before I took this position, Mr. President.
I don't like you either. I don't, and I probably never will. Go ahead.
What I loved most about that was the current Australian Prime Minister just sitting there laughing at his own ambassador being humiliated. That was the President's exchange with former Australian PM and the current ambassador, Kevin Rudd. What did Americans make of that?
I think it would affirm the fact that you know exactly where you stand with this president at any given time. He doesn't mince words. And so I don't know how, if the Australians are smart, maybe they'll get rid of this ambassador pretty soon. It sounds like he may be on his way out. The prime minister didn't seem too eager to defend him in that room yesterday. So I guess we'll see. Maybe this story is still developing.
Yes, we think that it may be, though the Prime Minister has today come out and expressed his support for his ambassador again. Now, CJ, the two allies did sign an agreement to develop supplies of rare earths and critical minerals. This is going to be combating China's dominance of that market, and Beijing is not too happy about that. China is the world's leading producer of rare earths, and it's in a trade war with the US right now, CJ.
You know, it is, but I think this underscores, again, President Trump's commitment to America first leadership all throughout the world. And so, we're not here to placate China. We're not here to play, second fiddle to them. We're going to continue to lead from the front. And again, I understand why this is so, I guess, discombobulating to the Chinese, because they dealt with folks like Joe Biden for 4 long years. But there is a new sheriff in town, and President Trump has made that clear. And he's willing to work with, our global partners all throughout the world to achieve exactly what he ran on and what the American people gave him a mandate to achieve in this past year's election.
I am Skyping with Sarah Kendzior. She's a writer out of St. Louis on economics, politics, and the media. She has a very interesting article published in the Globe and Mail. The Trump ship may finally be sinking. Sarah, good morning. Welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks for having me.
I appreciate you coming on. Have you ever been, and are you a supporter of President Trump?
No, I'm not a supporter of President Trump.
And you've never been?
No.
And why not?
Well, I don't agree with his policies. I don't agree with his personal behavior. I've watched my entire life as he's hurt people in this country, as he's run businesses in an irresponsible way, as he's said inflammatory rhetoric, and as he's repeatedly lied. And I don't think he has the interest of the American people at heart. And so, we've seen him in action during his months in the presidency. I think he's done a terrible job. And I think that's a shame, because America deserves better.
So you've always hated President Trump, even before he became president?
It's not really a matter of hating him. It's a matter of thinking, what is good for America? What kind of policies work? What kind of person do we want our kids to look up to? What kind of values do we want to have? What kind of country do we want to be? And when I look at Trump, no, I don't see anything that I want to emulate, that I want our country to emulate. And I don't think he's really looking out for our country. I think he's looking out for himself. And so again, my emphasis is on citizens of this country and getting the kind of elected officials that we deserve during very difficult times.
You write, in your writing, you call the president morally repugnant. Give me an example of that.
Well, Okay.
Because the things you just named is just your personal opinions about him. But give me an example where the president is morally repugnant.
He bragged about grabbing women by the pussy. He was accused of rape by his wife during their divorce proceedings. He said extremely bigoted things about Mexicans, about blacks, about immigrants in general. These are things backed up in stereotypes meant to incite hatred. He equated neo-Nazis with the people who are fighting against them, including Heather Heyer, a woman who was killed. If you want to continue with this question, I'm going to be here all day because it's a very long list of misdeeds, and that's not even going into his corporate malfeasance, which is now hurting not just himself and people around him, but all Americans.
You just gave me fake news. Give me something that he said about black people that was morally repugnant.
Okay, he said that the Central Park Five was guilty of a crime that they didn't commit. He took out a full-page newspaper.
How is that morally repugnant?
It's morally repugnant because it's a lie that defames innocent people, and he continued to do it long after their innocence was proved.
Did you think that about Barack Obama when he lied and said, if you like your doctor, you can keep your doctor? If you like your health insurance, you can keep your health insurance? Did you think, wow, this is a morally repugnant president?
You can keep your plan if you are satisfied with it. If you like the plan you have, you can keep it. If you like your plan and you like your doctor, you won't have to do a thing. You keep your plan. If you like your health care plan, you'll be able to keep your health care plan. If you've got health insurance, you can keep it. If you like your health care plan, you will keep your plan.
No, I didn't think that was a case of a president being morally repugnant, because the act of passing Obamacare had to do with both parties and was a piece of legislature. It was not a bigoted comment
It didn't
and
have
a
to do
lie
with both
made
parties.
offhand about a group of teenage boys who had done nothing wrong.
It didn't have anything. It didn't have anything to do with both parties. Republicans did not vote for Obamacare. He did it without the help. How about when Obama said, "If I had a son, he would look like Trayvon Martin"?
To the parents of Trayvon Martin. If I had a son, he'd look like Trayvon.
And we later found that Trayvon Martin was a thug who got what he deserved, as well as the police.
That's a terrible thing to say. I don't think Trayvon Martin was a thug. And nobody
No, he was a thug.
He was not a thug.
He was a
and I
thug.
think it's a terrible thing to say. He was killed while walking down the street after buying candy. He was killed by one of his own neighbors for absolutely no reason. Then that neighbor was so
That's not true.
that he found him intimidating. And now this family has to go on for the rest of their lives without their son who he loved. He did nothing wrong. And so I think it's a terrible thing to say if
the
somebody
family
was killed in such an atrocious manner.
His father and mother are fake. They're phony. They failed their son. They
I
are.
hope people listening to the show can hear what I'm saying and take the time to look up things on their own. We were all entitled to our own opinions, but we're not really entitled to our own facts, especially about an innocent teenage boy who was killed.
He was anything but innocent. But
This is very easy to look
let me
up.
move on. Hold on.
I really encourage your audience to do so. I think it would be very informative for them.
How about you said that the president said bad things or wrong things about the Mexicans or Hispanics. What did he say about them?
He launched his campaign by saying that Mexicans were rapists and murderers, and that a wall is going to be something that's going to protect us from them. He treats people as guilty when they haven't done anything wrong. Are there people who've committed crimes? Sure. Should we be anti-crime? Yes. Is crime inherently linked to someone's ethnicity or country of origin? No.
When Mexico sends its people, they're not sending their best. They're not sending you. They're not sending you. They're sending people that have lots of problems, and they're bringing those problems with us. They're bringing drugs, they're bringing crime, they're rapists, and some, I assume, are good people. But I speak to border guards, and they tell us what we're getting. And it only makes common sense. It only makes common sense. They're sending us not the right people. It's coming from more than Mexico.
How do you feel right now sitting there being dishonest about what the president said? Do you believe that you are a morally repugnant person for putting out lies?
No, I feel fine about what I'm saying.
So you're okay with lying?
Actual
You're
policies
okay with lying?
that hurt people, and I don't want to see people hurt.
You're
So
okay with you're okay with lying about the president, but you can judge the president and say that he's morally repugnant. What the president said is that we're going to put a big, beautiful wall around the borders, and because
It's
right
not a
now,
wall. And actually, one
hold
thing
on,
that
hold
your
on a minute,
listeners
hold
should know
on,
is that the
hold
money
on,
for the wall
hold
was
on, hold on,
disaster relief.
hold on. He said that we have murders, rapists, and God knows what else coming across the borders. He didn't call, and he said we have some good folks coming. He didn't say Mexicans were like that.
He literally called them bad hombres.
He was referring to the illegal aliens coming across the borders. Does it bother you at all that illegals coming across the borders are affecting blacks first and foremost when it comes to jobs, crime, education, healthcare? Does that bother you that blacks are being hurt first and foremost?
No, because that's
No?
a myth.
You don't
This
care
is
about
not
that?
what's actually happening. There are a lot of people in this country who are struggling to find work. That is something that is accurate. This idea that immigrants are coming in and stealing jobs is a myth.
These agents are under attack. A county judge is threatening to arrest them, and even some Democrats want to see them shot. Also, George Stephanopoulos from ABC had a disastrous interview. So we're going to talk about all this in this video, show you what both sides are saying. Let's start with the mayhem in Manhattan. Take a look. What you just saw there was really a chaotic situation, but in Manhattan, New York City, where ICE officials have showed up in large numbers to conduct raids. And of course, we're going to hear more about this meltdown tomorrow, because that's exactly the way that I describe it. People are going to be coming out in full force protesting all of this. But remember, ICE agents are doing their job, and when they encounter people who are obstructing from doing their job, they're going to arrest them. Here's another example of that. Take a look at this.
Is running. Now again, this person, we've been watching this person. He has been pushing ICE agents and police, and people have been defending him. There's another woman right in front. She was also pushing some of these officers. Whether they know someone who was arrested by police for being undocumented is unclear. Again, we're trying to figure out how many arrests there actually were that were undocumented immigrants as opposed to protesters. At this point, these are protesters who are being arrested.
Yeah, notice right now that's Manhattan, and of course we're going to hear more about this tomorrow because there will be a protest, there will be a meltdown, and of course they're going to run to the courts to try to get a TRO or some way to stop ICE from plussing up their numbers in New York City. So just go ahead and have that expectation on your docket there. All right, now let's switch to Chicago, because as you guys have already heard, the Cook County judge ruled that ICE, they're banned from arresting illegal aliens inside courthouses. But he went a step further, and now he's saying that if they decide to do this, that they can be arrested themselves. It's getting out of hand. Then he goes on to say this: the fair administration of justice requires that courts remain open and accessible, and that litigants and witnesses may appear without fear of civil arrest. Then he goes on to say that one thing seems clear: ICE rousted American citizens from their apartments during the middle of the night and detained them in zip ties, no less, for far longer than the brief period authorized by the operative regulation. And one more thing here, which comes from Tom Homan. So he had to respond to this judge because this is ludicrous. Again, you heard it on CNN. These judges are trying to micromanage a federal agency, also known as ICE. It's insanity. But here's what he had to say.
We've said it a million times. You can't have a welfare state, especially like California, and also open borders together. It's a one-way ticket to a collapsing and bankrupt society. But I guess don't tell the mayor that.
No, well, like she just rewrote federal law apparently because there's illegal aliens that are defined in federal statutes. They're defined in Title 8 United States Code. I mean, illegal aliens, a legal term, and they're illegal in the United States. And if they're in the country legally, they should be afraid. They should be uncomfortable. It's not okay to be in this country illegally. It's not okay to enter this country legally. It's a crime. So she simply, is ignoring what federal statute says. And look, bottom line is, ICE is concentrating on public safety threats and national security threats. The data clearly shows it, and that's something they don't want to talk about. She ought to be thanking ICE for making LA safer, because that's exactly what they're doing. And as far as the judge in Chicago, I mean, we'll win that on appeal because warrantless searches are allowed in federal law. Illegal aliens are likely to abscond. We've been arresting illegal aliens without warrants for decades. There's an administrative warrant that's part of the package, but we don't need a criminal warrant to arrest illegal aliens that's like to abscond. We take them in custody, then we go to the judicial proceedings. We're not going to stop doing what we're doing, and we'll win that on appeal.
I totally agree with him, because that's exactly what's been happening is the Trump administration's been winning on appeal or at the Supreme Court. Said it earlier, they're doing what they're allowed to do according to the law. The problem with people on the left is because they don't like the law or they don't like what the president is doing, they think he's breaking the law. Now that just shows you how intelligent these people are, or the intelligence they lack around this particular issue. They're more emotion than actual thought, and that continues to be a more serious issue in my opinion. Now, we talked about Manhattan, we talked about Chicago, so we might as well talk about Portland, right? Well, here's that investigative journalist who was arrested by Portland PD and thrown in jail for 24 hours, and then they finally released him, all because he was just trying to expose the truth. Nick Sorter, here he is on Fox News giving us an update. Take a listen.
Nick, why are the police not doing anything? Like, you always think the police and the federal and agents, law enforcement agents, and state and federal would work together because they're all there to enforce the law. But it seems like I would believe that they've gotten some type of stand down order not to do certain things, to not respond to this type of violence. They arrested you, though, right? They threw you in jail overnight.
Yeah, no, I mean, they'll definitely arrest people like me, but they have orders not to look like they are assisting ICE or DHS in any way, shape, or form. They've said that publicly at this point, officers out here on camera. So that's not just speculation. Yeah. They're saying that themselves. So somebody is giving that order, and I'm telling you, or I'm going to find out who.
All right, so I have a question for the homeowners out there, and this is pretty serious. What if you could delay your next 2 mortgage payments? I'm talking about putting in that money back. What he is saying is it's spot on. You have Democrat politicians who are suggesting that political violence is okay, especially against ICE agents. You saw the clip from Don Lemon, who suggested that if you're not white, you should be getting a gun and seeking to defend yourself against ICE officers. You saw the guy during the No Kings protest over the weekend who said that we need to pick up arms and take out ICE agents. And nobody on the left condemned that behavior. And he still has his job, by the way. So what Chris Cuomo has been doing today is really calling out people on the left for suggesting violence as a reaction to what they don't like. Now, this caller still refuses to say that, no, he doesn't want violence. He still thinks in his mind that violence is okay. Take a listen.
I'm not telling you don't bear arms, don't protect yourself, but just think about what you're saying. If a cop comes to your house and knocks on the door and says, hey, we think you're the guy we're looking for, you're coming with us, and they grab you real rough, you're basically saying, well, in that situation, I should be able to shoot him. It's effing crazy, okay? It's just crazy talk. And it can't be what you think. I'll take silence as acceptance. Look, I get it. You want me to give advice because you're angry at ICE. You're angry. You're angry at how they're doing their job. But how could you ever want to suggest that people should be violent?
Well, see, now you're assuming that I'm angry. I'm not angry. I'm upset. I'm disappointed.
But where else could it come from?
Because I'm afraid of I'm afraid of what happens to people who don't have an opportunity to have due process and to say, "Hey, I'm a citizen." And
You sue. You sue is what you do. That's called justice. That's what we do. You litigate. You don't shoot them.
Do you think some people are deported who are citizens?
No.
I don't know. Could that have happened? Absolutely.
All right, listen. If an adult American citizen has been deported, I'm sure Democrats would have already figured that out by now and have gone to the courts, and they would have got a ruling by now, because that's just obviously a no-brainer, okay? But when you hear of a 6-year-old who is an American citizen getting deported, it's misleading. Their parents who are illegal are getting deported, and they decide to take the American citizen with them back to their home country. That is the story. But that's not the way that it's communicated in the media, because that's not sexy, right? That's not going to get people's attention, okay? And often the truth doesn't get people's attention, especially on the left. They're allergic to it. So at any rate, this guy, you know, he's not letting up. He still believes, I guess, violence is justified against ICE officials because you think they're doing something wrong. I mean, people think the police pulling you over. A lot of people in this country believe that's wrong. They think, oh, what? Why are you pulling me over? I wasn't speeding. I mean, people just seem today to have this entitlement attitude, like it's okay to fight back against law enforcement in that moment. That's not the time and place. You fight them in the courts. It's so interesting how we've lost sight of common sense. Now, let me show you guys one more clip from this caller. It's crazy how this is. Take a listen.
I don't have confidence.
Listen, they may be doing the job the wrong way. They may be doing the job the wrong way. They may be making mistakes. There may be some who aren't making mistakes. My advice would never be to shoot them. Never.
What is your advice?
Never.
For people in that situation, what's your advice?
My advice is plead your case and fight the system. Not with your hands, right? That's not democracy. It's not our society. Don't be what you oppose. If you think what they're doing is wrong, don't do something wrong in response. I don't think that's goody two-shoes. And I get how it feels somehow satisfying and muscular to say, hey, this is why we have the Second Amendment. The hell it is. That's not why we have it. I get why you're upset. You're right about that, but your remedy is wrong.
Okay, I think we heard enough. I wanted to show you guys this call because it's really profound. I mean, imagine how many Democrats are thinking this way. He just automatically assumes this person didn't get due process. He just automatically assumes this person is innocent. He's not factoring in the numbers that show that we have criminal illegal aliens in this country. We have people who are evading arrest. We have people who are committing crimes. And while ICE has to go into these neighborhoods and get those people, on the way they find people who may not be violent, but they're still in the country unlawfully. That's their due process. Okay? All right, let's go to our next story. And this is more entertainment for me. So George Stephanopoulos, right, from ABC, here he is doing an interview with Walmart CEO, okay? And as you guys know, they want to continue to fearmonger their base into thinking that President Trump's tariffs is going to, send this economy off a cliff. And he tries to lead the Walmart CEO into that type of thinking and solicit a response. And the unfortunate part is the CEO is well-trained and understands how to deal with people like George. And so I want you guys to take a look at this embarrassment. Take a listen.
How about President Trump's tariffs? They're contributing to higher costs across the board. I know you're absorbing some of the cost, but how much is going to be passed on to consumers as they turn to holiday items?
Well, George, we're, as you know, selling a really wide variety of products, and about 2/3 of what we sell is either made, grown, or assembled here in the United States. And so our merchants have done a really nice job of mixing things out. You know, this basket is a great example. where we're keeping prices down. The other thing we do at Walmart, we have a program called rollbacks, which we've had for decades. And as we stand here today, we get to talk today, we have about 7,000 items on rollbacks, which is up about 1,000 from where we began the beginning of the year. So we are really focused on ensuring that across categories, opening price point, some of our better and best quality products, that we are delivering the prices that people expect. So we have this basket that's going to be exciting for Thanksgiving. And then in a few weeks, we'll be talking about the holiday event season that's coming up just before you know it.
So as you guys heard, President Trump's tariffs has caused, prices to go up. And it's interesting when they say things like that, because it's like, you guys do understand that 95% of the price that we're seeing in these grocery stores are due to the Biden administration, right? Like, let's just get real, okay? But, ABC and these networks are not going to say that, okay? But anyways, the Walmart CEO is touching on something that should be the reaction from all these corporations. Listen, if the president wants to put tariffs and it causes prices to go up, you guys need to adapt for the American people, not punish them. You need to find ways to get products here in America and resell those to your customers and find a way to do it in an affordable way. That's not the president's fault. That's not the American people's fault. That's why you have a business. You got to adapt with the market. So it totally makes sense what he was saying. Okay, let's go to this clip.
A lot of American families are tightening their belts right now, borrowing more to pay bills, falling behind on credit card payments. Are you seeing any change in your customers' behavior, and what can you do to alleviate that?
What we've been seeing, and we talked about this at the end of our second quarter just a couple months ago, we see a customer that is very savvy. They're thinking about value. They love quality, and they've been very resilient. Our customers that have shopping with us both online and in store, they've been really resilient, but they are looking for value. So we are doing what we can to ensure that we're being as efficient as possible so that we can deliver low prices. And the big change from just even the year that we've talked about today, I just reiterate, is the price of the basket being down 25%. That is a big number in terms of percent decrease. And then having over 7,000 items that we've taken the price down on key items, things like our 50-inch Vizio television that's selling for $214. Those are great values that will really come in handy as people get ready to celebrate the holiday season.
Bottom line is, the CEO is not going to fall for it. I don't think any of these CEOs are going to go into the media and bash the current president of the United States. They're not that stupid, okay? They have a bottom line to adhere to. And the last thing they need is some fight with the president. Now, mainstream media companies, these media networks, of course, they don't look at it that way. They're willing to go toe-to-toe with the president. I think maybe because they have the money, but also because it's in their nature to do so. It's just really hypocritical that they never did that with the Biden administration. I'm sure you guys are following along here. But at any rate, are the prices of products going into the holidays still not as cheap as they were back in 2019? That is an undisputable fact, of course. But is that President Trump's fault? No, he wasn't responsible for record high inflation. I know you guys know that. Now here's Victor Davis Hanson and his response to this interview that became a disaster for George Stephanopoulos. Take a listen.
Victor, George Stephanopoulos tried to get the Walmart CEO to bash Trump and the economy. All I can say, Victor, is poor George. Poor baby. I wasn't expecting that answer.
Yeah, the CEO was basically saying, George, we had 20 to 30% inflation under Biden, and now we've done all we can under a new administration, and it's working, and it's declining, and we're back to almost Trump's first term. So that was pretty damning. They're in a doom loop, Laura. The primary people that are running, and they know that they have to oppose Trump in every aspect on crime, on the border, that are very popular, what he's doing. And that gets them nominated, but then that very act of coming out against Trump and shutting down the government, that loses you in the general election. And so they don't really have a formula. You can get, but sometimes a party goes very radical, and they can win. They put these primary candidates, and then they can do well in the general election if you have a charismatic Obama or Bill Clinton, and they're on the wrong side of the issues. But they don't have any charismatic leaders or any politicians that are skilled, at least that they would nominate, and they're on the wrong side of the issues, and the primary system is going to ensure that this lunatic base is the center of gravity in the party. So I don't know how they're going to get out of it unless they get another big defeat in 2028 or maybe even in the midterms. And they're in a doom loop.
I was going to say the same thing. They're in just this never-ending cycle of doom and gloom and negativity. They're on a low.
Myth 2.0 podcast. And always remember, gentlemen, it's a
Bro, white people are going to go extinct, and it's their own fucking fault.
Yeah.
You're organized, you're smart, you could get everything in line, you refuse because there's too many traitors in your camp. What did I say earlier about men betraying other men?
Mm-hmm.
Men betraying other men is how they manage to do this STEM-centric bullshit that destroys men all the time.
Mm-hmm.
White people are being subverted by all the white people which are desperate to see their race go extinct.
Yeah.
You can never have a traitor in your camp. Watch the 300 movie. You can have the 300 strongest motherfuckers alive.
Right.
You got one traitor, you're going to lose. You never have a traitor in your camp. White people have been betrayed by all these fucking liberal whites who are desperate to watch white people go extinct.
Yeah,
They don't have kids.
I wouldn't even call them liberal. I would call it like progressive. Progressive, yeah.
They're self-extinctionists.
Yeah.
All they're begging for is just to be fucking decimated and controlled and destroyed. What's interesting to me is white people are already getting their asses whooped left and right by black people who are angry every time they're in the wrong scenario. What's going to happen when you're not even the majority anymore?
Right.
You think white people, you think you're going to be in a better position when you're the minority in your own country? With all this intrinsic hatred? They'll be talking about slavery in 2,000 years from now, fucking locking you up in a space jail.
Yeah, look what's happening in South Africa. I think the black people's taking all the white people's land down.
Yeah, the smaller shit. They took it.
Just took it.
And the white people have been there since the 1600s.
Yeah.
They've been there forever.
Yeah.
People have this idea, oh, white people came and took it. They've been there for fucking 600-700 years. They've been there. They're as African as anybody. But nah, they're losing their shit because they're white. Why are they taking their shit? Because they got shit. Because they got something to take.
Yeah, right.
So it's truly incredible that white people are on this extinctionist path. But white people are not allowed to be nationalistic, and white people are not allowed to love themselves, and they're not allowed to stick up for themselves.
Yeah.
And that's done by the Matrix on purpose, you know? And there's a lot of reasons why that's done. I talked about it on PBD. It already got me a lot of heat, but the World War II narrative is how they do that. They say that when white people are nationalistic, it ends up as Nazis, which is why they used the World War II narrative to subvert white people sticking up for themselves and sticking together. And then if you understand the real story of World War II, you understand that's a lie. So that's the true betrayal of the white man. But it's also incredible for me to put it in a comedic sense to try and avoid jail. Let me try and be a comedian. White people are the only people who listen to women. That's their problem. Black people don't listen to women.
They don't even raise the kids, they just leave.
Bye. Like, you got to raise these kids. No, I'm out of here. Black people don't listen to women. You think Chinese motherfuckers listen to women? No. You think Indians listen to women? Even skinny little pussy-ass Indians don't listen to their women. You go to fucking Mumbai, and even you can see the skinniest alive. You've been with fucking sandals on, no money, and his woman can't get fresh to him because she'll get slapped up in the street.
Yeah, that's nobody the thing in every country. Will slap the shit out of a woman.
Nobody listens to women but white men. The only people alive are these wife-jack white men who listen to women. And as soon as you start listening to women, you end up doing this shit. When you listen to women, you end up idealistic, you're not realistic, and you watch your entire fucking society implode. I will argue that if you look at COVID, the only households that were scared of COVID were the households where the woman's in charge. Because when I came home during COVID, there was 2 girls in my house. I came home and they're like, have you seen the news? I was like, what? There's a big new virus. Don't care. And they were
my
like,
wife lost her shit.
I was like, I don't care. And then the girls go, so what should we do? I was like, nothing. Fixed. My house was fixed because I told them, shut up, no one cares. Done. If I would have come home, my wife was like, we have to see your aunt next week. We have to see the grandma. We have kids and there's a big virus. Put a mask on. Now we're scared of household violence because women can be women are emotionally driven, so they can be intimidated. It's the reason they want women to be control of the household is because if you want to convince a man of something, you have to use a degree of rationality. If you want to convince a woman of something, all you have to do is scare her. You don't have to be rational with a woman. You can just say, do you love your grandma? Well, yeah. Emotional arguments. I love my grandma. To put the mask on. That's how they do it with women. With men, it's far more difficult. You're like, yeah, I love my grandma, but she's 96. She's going to die anyway. Why the fuck am I wearing a mask? I ain't seeing her till next month. What the